All right, you are
All
live.
right. Hello and welcome, everyone. My name is Devin Hogan, and I have had the pleasure to serve as your Minneapolis DFL chair since 2018. As a person who has voted Democratic their entire life, a farmer who runs a cooperative market garden on Nicollet Avenue, and a laborer who serves as the parliamentarian of my union's local, I'm very proud to call myself a DFLer. Also, during this Pride Month, I'm super proud to be out as queer and a non-binary person, and representation matters, and I want to say that I see you. As your party chair, I've helped to spearhead this effort to reinvent the caucuses from scratch and put them on the internet this year due to COVID. Proud to say that we've more than doubled our caucus turnout from 2017, and to my knowledge, 2021 has been the best attended caucus in decades, with the notable exception of 2016. I do also want to give a special kudos and thanks to the members of the Minneapolis DFL Central Committee and the 60 participating campaigns citywide seeking endorsement for all of the time we've spent together since last October to make everything happen. Also do want to send a special shout out to our ward committees who are helping to put on these events today. Thank you all to the folks that are attending and watching live or recorded on this hot summer Saturday. So the purpose of these events is for you to get to know the candidates better and to give the candidates an opportunity to have more time to explain why they're asking for your support. We sent a form out for delegates to submit questions, and these questions will be used as the basis for a candidate forum in the later part of today's event. I will say as the party chair, the endorsement is actually my favorite part of all the work that we do, because it's Democrats agreeing that this person most supports our values as a Democrat. And in a big tent, of course, there's always going to be disagreements, but the endorsement is emphasizing us coming together. It's a pretty cool and exciting thing about our party, and I think it's something that we should celebrate. And so now I get to talk about my second favorite part, which is how I get to flex about how your ward has influenced my life in Minneapolis and how it's meaningful to me. And so for Ward 6, Ward 6 is one of the reasons why I moved to Minnesota is I went to graduate school at the Humphrey School. And so the West Bank and Cedar Riverside are, in my opinion, one of the best neighborhoods in the entire country. I've had a lot of good fortune to travel, and I cannot tell anyone enough like how blessed we are to have that particular neighborhood and everything about it, and how meaningful it is to our city. I can go on and on and on, but the music and the food especially are my favorite parts. So now I am going to move on to the contractually obligated part to pass the hat. The Minneapolis DFL is 100% volunteer run and sustained on small dollar donations. Right now, our average donation is around $22, $23, and every bit helps us do the work. So you can donate any amount at minneapolisdfl.org/donate. That's minneapolisdfl.org/donate. And if you haven't given to a political candidate or a party this year, you can get up to $50 of your donation refunded via the Minnesota Political Contribution Refund Program. And now finally, I want to explain how your ballots work. In this particular ward, there are only 2 candidates and no endorsement on the ballot. Our rules are the same citywide, and it says that we will have ranked choice voting until there's 2 candidates and no endorsement left. So because that's all that's on the ballot to begin with, essentially your one vote is the one vote that happens in this particular ward convention. So I just want to make sure everyone is super clear on that even though you're presented with ranked choice for the purpose of it being standardized citywide, essentially there will be only one vote on your ballot. And then finally, I just want to remind you too that you can vote and re-vote as many times as you wish. Only the last vote taken before 11:59 p.m. on Tuesday will be the one that's used. So on that note, I just want to say thank you again. Thank you to the candidates for running, and I'll pass it along to Conrad to get the forum underway.
Thank you very much, Devin, and thank you to the candidates joining us today. We have 2 candidates for City Council, and then after the City Council forum is concluded, we have 2 candidates for Park Board. So the format of this forum will be based upon the kinds of questions that people are asking, but it'll be open-ended on the different topics that we have. So we will have 1 minute opening remarks to warm up, then 2 minutes each on the issue of public safety, then 1 minute each to follow up on that. and you can make a cordial rebuttal if you want to counter something that was said in the previous statement. And then 2 minutes each on housing, which was the second most popular topic among people asking questions. And then 2 minutes each on public health, which is a very important topic, especially right now, and especially in Ward 6. And then the final question before closing remarks is 2 minutes each on what makes you different than the other candidate here today. So what differentiates you from your other candidate, where people are trying to find differences between people so that they can help better make a decision on who they want to vote for. So instead of talking about umpteen different policy positions, what do you see as what makes you the best candidate in this endorsement race? And then finally, 2 minutes for closing remarks and any final points you want to make and your final pitch to the delegates. And so we will start in rotating order, and there's 2 candidates. So first one will go first, and then the other one will go first for the next round. And so to begin, Jamal Osman, 1 minute opening remarks.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for your commitment to this year's Minneapolis DFL endorsement process. It hasn't been easy for you guys, but I appreciate your willingness to do the work of democracy, and I hope to earn your vote. It's been momentous 9 months since I was sworn in last year, steering the city throughout the 2021 budget with COVID, the murder of George Floyd, and the unrest that followed. After working as a renter's advocate, I understand that I need to lift the voices of others and support those to be. The choices we had to make as a council, my short time here, it hasn't been easy, but I'm continue to work for you and to fight for you. The work continues, and I want to continue serving you, and that's why I want to go back in the city hall and serve you as a resident. Thank you. As a councilman, thank you.
And then 1 minute, AB.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Can you hear me? Hi, my name is Abdulrazak Bihi. I have been working in the community for the past 24 years. I moved here to this beautiful city in Minneapolis, 1996. For the last those years, 24 years, 25 years, I've lived in Ward 6, and that's where most of my work, especially with people of color and immigrants mainly, whether it's housing, healthcare, whether it's advocating for people's civic engagement. I started to organize the community back in 1997. First people I made I helped them vote were 57 people. Today, we organize a lot of people to vote. My passion today is that we need a change. We need a voice from the community. What happens, what's wrong in City Hall right now is that city of Minneapolis is going through a lot, and the whole world is really watching us, how we approach public safety, healthcare, or racial equality. And I am a person who really is proud to live in West Bank for 22 years in Cedar Riverside, and proud to represent you. And my most passionate thing is that I've learned over those 2 decades is to how to listen
Thank
to
you.
people. Thank you.
Next, 2 minutes each on what is your vision for public safety in Minneapolis? And this question will be in the rotated order, and we'll start with A. Behe.
I'm sorry, what is the question?
What is your vision for public safety in Minneapolis?
First of all, I want to tell you that last election in September that I was carjacked at gunpoint. Not at gunpoint, but with pepper spray, though the police found a gun in the car, in my car. I understand what crime is, and I work with community members that are impacted by crime. But what I know is, and we all know is, we cannot police our way all the way through social issues. I believe in investing in mental health, by having mental health practitioners to respond to 911 calls from mental health. Domestic calls, 911 calls, should not be handled by police. I think we have reform and accountability in our police department with our police officer traffic.
Thank you. And next, Jamal Osman.
Thank you. Probably this is the biggest issue we are facing as a society, not just locally in Minneapolis, but around the nation. Public safety hasn't been chosen the right way. When I came in the middle of division within the council members. They were debating about defund the police and other nonsense. For me, I came as someone who thinking that, okay, we're gonna sit here as our elected officials and making sure we are making the decisions that is affecting our residents in Ward 6. So I had to take a step back and make sure that I fight and vote what my residents deal with every day. It's been very challenging for many residents with public safety. I think that we need to make sure that we put law and policies that protect people from police brutality. It has not been easy for people like me, people that look like me in my community. We have been tested, and this is the time for leadership. I have not seen that throughout my time here with the division within the council member, but I made the right decision to vote the interest of my residents. I'm very accessible to my residents. Many of my decisions came from them. I have conversation with them. I feel their pain. We have witnessed so many injustices within the police. Also, so many crimes that were taking place in our community. Our community need healing, they need protection, and they need mental health resource.
Thank you. And then 1 minute for follow-up on public safety for Abihi.
Yes, my opponent, Jamal Osman, recently attended a couple rallies that Somali American members who were affected by crime were there. And his answer was, we don't have enough police. He said that his colleagues are refusing to hire more police. I believe that I defer Councilman Jamal on the point of public safety. Public safety is not only police. Police is part of it. But I think a lot of police officers are not happy to do traffic stops, are not happy to answer mental health. It fits well that we take care of what really creates, what are the core issues of our police brutality or police shootings. We need to understand that and look at the research and look at cities like, in Austin, Texas, and many other cities that are about to come. I think we have an opportunity as a city to lead since the uprising started here in Minneapolis after the murder of George Floyd. And
then 1 minute for Jamal Osman to follow up on public safety.
Oh, thank you. I think my record speaks by itself. By short time I was here, we hear many opinions with different council members bringing different amendments. For me, was to make a rational decision that affects our residents. I'm not with the hashtags. I'm not with I want to make a real decision that affects our residents. Our residents have been nationally, especially immigrant community, have been nationally targeted by federal, by state, by police. I know what it feels like in the hands of police. That speaks for me, but I want to make sure we're not just putting police on the street. We're making the reform and the change we need. And my voting record proves that. I want to make sure we are focusing on alternative policing and policies that affect our residents every day. Mental health is my expertise. I have worked in mental health advocate, and that's why in December, we put a budget on the side to make sure we are bringing resources within MPD to have mental health responses. We do not need to send cops to those individuals that are dealing with mental health. Money calls MPD receives are mental health residents, and we want to make sure we're staying away from that and putting resource alternative policing. Thank you.
Thank you. And so then the next question, again, open-ended, and we will rotate the order again. So Jamal Osman, you will start. And the question is, what is your vision for housing in Minneapolis and, of course, specifically Ward 6?
Oh, thank you for your question. I have a lot of vision that are not just the word, but really make a difference. I've worked in affordable housing setting for the last 7 years. I have been an advocate as a resident of Ward 6. And Ward 6 has about 94% of the residents here are renters. So as soon as I got there, I made that priority to be in the community of housing, to make sure we are putting resource, targeting spaces within Ward 6 to build more affordable housing and public housing in that matter. My goal is to make sure, first, we have to keep the residents we have, and that means protecting their rights. I put an audience on me and my colleagues for advance notice for eviction. We are letting many residents who do not know their rights, landlords, private managers are abusing those and kicking those people out with no due process. That is not what I'm accepting at all. My plan is to make sure we are reaching out to the state, federal, and also within the city resource for more units, more affordable units. We have the space for it. That's why I speak many of the staff and many of the leadership within the city to target funding for this. There are places in Ward 6 that I have named that hopefully in next few months, we will be funding and making sure that we are putting large units. Many East African communities here are larger families. We're putting large units, 3, 4 bedrooms, and there are about 4 or 5 or 6 that are coming up since I started, and I will continue to make sure we are protecting the residents and also making more affordable housing opportunity and funding. What it needs is funding, and we have to keep doing that. Thank you.
Thank you. And then 2 minutes on what is your vision for housing in Minneapolis and specifically Ward 6, Abihi.
Thank you. First of all, I want to tell you, I'm a renter for the past 24 or 5, 6 years. My kids were born right here in Cedar Riverside as a family of renters. I'm very glad to say my older daughter goes to the UFM and my younger one goes to the South High. We are lucky enough to have a roof on top of us, because many of our neighbors, many residents, former residents of Ward 6 and City of Minneapolis do not have a roof over their head to protect their families and have a decent place to live. They're in cabins and shelters because rent is going through the roof. We need a rent control. And I believe 3% annually, fixed, not changing, should be not 3 years, 4 years, forever, should be the norm to really make sure that people are not being homeless because of rent increases in our city. Second,
I think we might have, oh, there you are, you're back again. You'll have another 30 seconds because your connection went out.
can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you now, and feel free to take a minute now.
Okay, So we need to create resources and get getting $50 million the city is getting from the state is not enough. We need to increase that demand for more money in order to build more low income and also affordable housing. Affordable housing is tricky because it depends a lot of new structures, new buildings say they have affordable housing. But the question is, who are they affordable to? Someone who's making 70,000, 80,000? I think rent control is number one, and we should have 3% fixed rent control. That's very important. And also we should have immediately engage, work with Hennepin County and also the state, a number of foundations to really make sure those people who are living in the encampments have access to shelters, then later on move on to affordable housing. 40% of people who live in the camps and still continue to live there had a part-time or full-time job, but they couldn't afford the rent increases. So one thing is to really build a low income. Number two is to really make an annual permanent 3% rent increase. I really support Minneapolis Rent Control Organization and other organizations who are working on that. We have to have empathy and a passion for our neighbors who are homeless because simply they couldn't afford the rent. We also need to really empower organizations that fight for rent control against the lobbyists of big corporates.
Thank you. And so the next topic is public health, which of course has been a very important topic for the entire globe during this global pandemic, but also in Ward 3 with different public health issues Ward 6 for public health issues in Ward 6. So we will rotate the order again, I think actually I see, so we'll start with Jamal Osman, 2 minutes on public health, and maybe if you can speak to the opioid crisis in Ward 6.
Thank you. I think that we have been tested as a city, especially in Ward 6. Ward 6 already had issue with public health before the COVID hit. We had Native American communities, Somali communities that were left behind, that were dealing with so many challenges. Opioid epidemic. There's absolute. When I speak to the residents, when I speak to the youth that are on catching the bus or standing around during my campaign, they tell me there is absolutely no resource here. There's no recreation center. There's no job opportunity in the community. So as soon as I got to the health, my first meeting was the health department. Talked to the leadership of the health department, tell them what's your plan. Yes, they cited, of course, the same old about the challenges they have in trying to get, but I say no, we are heading in a different direction. We are bringing back within the community. Community itself can fix the opioid epidemic. So we put a budget on the side to make sure that opioid epidemics are dealt with. Also, we received a contribution from an organization within the city. We have a large pocket of money. Now, what do you do with it? I talked to the institutions that actually abandoned our community, like University of Minnesota, Oxford College, Fairview Clinics. I brought all of them together. We work within the community. Now that's why we open a clinic on Cedar Riverside. We want to make sure the awareness is there. We are employing and creating opportunity within the community. We have peer specialists and community leaders that have worked in this, that can speak to the kids that have the language. During the budget, I made an amendment to make sure that we're putting Fire Station 7, a resource for opioid. So the Native American and Somali youth can go there, talk to a professional, get a opioid epidemic resource and so on. So it is an issue. And I made it awareness, huge awareness. Now I have a plan, and my plan is to make sure that we are dealing with this situation. I'm not going to take any more, oh, the city priority or city doesn't have a resource. The city of Minneapolis built a US bank. They have different priority, but not in this word. So my fight has been very clear, and my policy and voting has been very clear. You can check it out. Thank you.
Thank you. And next, A. Behe, again, 2 minutes on public health, and especially in Ward 6, both the pandemic and also the opioid epidemic.
Well, I have a great experience about healthcare, public health. I have served in the past the boards of Cook Clinic and I see the Riverside People's Center Clinic in the neighborhood. The racial inequality is a lot of it. It's not limited to housing. It's not limited to police brutality or injustice or housing, but healthcare is a big component. You'll see a huge disparity in our state of Minnesota. Is one of the last states in terms of the gap. If you look at the gap between the people of color and low income on one side, and the indigenous people, the Native American community, and the mainstream community, I think we should invest more into community clinics that are closer to those neighborhoods. I think we should invest in mental health. It's a growing health crisis in our city, in our ward especially. We need to put money on education to healthcare providers, educate about mental health care, because it has a stigma and it's not limited to only one culture, it's across the board. So the barrier for people to access mental health care is one of them. One major one is the stigma. So we need to help healthcare providers, small clinics in the communities, and also mobile clinics to help educate the community in order to remove the barriers. We also Minnesota has one of the best healthcare and also one of the best health industries in the country or in the world. And at the same time, it's not acceptable to have a health crisis. So I think mental health is a big issue. Also access to that and investing in small clinics, and also to actually invest more in prevention rather than cure. So I think public health is a really a big issue. It comes also under the public safety. I think we should create mobile clinics along that in order to help the homeless community and in those encampments. We should have mobile clinics to make it easy for those people in the shelter. We should have mobile clinics also serve those elders or who are kind of isolated in their homes.
Thank you. And the next question, I think both of you will find very helpful, which is what makes you different than the other candidate here today? What differentiates you? What do you see as your greatest strength? Something that you find as a strength as a public servant, as a community leader, and what differentiates you from the other candidate? We will rotate the order again. So Jamal Osman started with public health. So AB, he will start with this question.
Yes, I think there are a lot of differences between my opponent and I. First of all, I live and work in the community for the past 24 years or more than that. I did not move in here or, to just get elected. The other thing that really differentiates is my experience of working people. I strongly believe listening to the residents of Ward 6 can help us really fix a lot of problems, such as housing crisis, such as healthcare crisis, racial inequality in every direction you look at, by listening to the residents, because the residents are the ones who are really struggling with those issues. But if the current way of doing business is just to dictate from City Hall, that's why we're failing. I think the most important thing is listening and responding and being accessible. And that is an experience I gained from the 24 years as a grassroots worker, social care provider, job creator. I also created skills training to help people out of poverty. So I think we are, in terms of impact, in terms of personality, in terms of vision, in terms of humbleness and listening to the people and paying a voice to City Hall rather than from City Hall to the world, I think that's the main difference between my opponent, Councilman Osman, and I.
Thank you. And the same question to Jamal Osman. What differentiates you from the other candidate in this contest?
Well, thank you. I think that after my swearing here 9 months ago, it's not what I thought it was going to be. It needs leadership, needs patience. For me, you can take an example that my vote was a swing vote. That means that I'm not with no side. I want to make sure that I'm making the right decision within our community. So what my strength is reaching out to those. I don't believe council members or city leadership not speaking to each other. I'm here to talk to everybody. I have a great relationship with every colleague and council member. That is how I get my agenda forward. I'm not here to score points from anybody. I'm here to represent you and represent my residents in Ward 6 and make a rational decision, not what the talking point is, rational decision. We have a lot in our hands. We have police reform we have to deal with. We have evictions for our residents. We have homelessness. We have mental health challenges. We have police brutality, so many things that are going on. So if you're telling me that you're going to achieve that way and not build relationship with others, that is not going to work. In my professional career, I've always worked and make a decision. Even if I don't agree with you, I want to make sure that we are at least agreeing and coming together and doing better what's best for our city. So what makes me strength is leadership. And I want to continue the work I have started. And I'm really glad that that people have trusted me in this position during the voting and that special election. It hasn't been easy, I'm gonna be honest with you. And the decisions that are made has to be rational and it has to focus on Ward 6 residents, which is a unique resident. There's a beautiful, diverse population here in our community. And we need to show that unity and leadership. And the decision I make today, or I make that, it will be decision from you, because I'm here and I have been listening to you. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you to both of the candidates for joining us today. We will end this forum with 2 minutes of closing remarks. And again, we'll rotate the order. So Jamal Osman will start with 2 minutes of closing remarks and then A. Behe to close it out. So thank you both, and 2 minutes for Jamal Osman.
Thank you so much for hosting this. I said it before, it hasn't been not easy 9 months, but my priority has not changed. Funding affordable housing, protecting renters' rights, and supporting economic development throughout the world have been my other priorities in office. I'm happy with the progress that I have made so far, but I know we need more. As your council member, I have co-authored ordinance around rent control and notice of eviction for tenants. I have also co-authored proposed ordinance to give tenants a chance to purchase their building and their housing if it's for sale. We have 94% renters here. We need to give them opportunity to purchase their own home. Rebuilding Lake Street and Franklin after the civil unrest, giving small business owners a chance to rebuild and reopen and succeed. A lot of work, but I think that funding from American Rescue Plan, which we're talking about right now, will help us surpass that. So that's why I want your support. I want to go back to the City Hall to keep working to create public safety system that is just and that does better job keeping all of us safe. I want to go back and keep fighting for truly affordable housing for our city. I want to go back to the City Hall and keep fighting for renters like that I have for 10 years, the 10 years I have worked as a resident advocate. I want to go back to the City Hall because I want to serve you. Thank you.
Thank you. And 2 minutes of closing remarks for ABE.
First of all, I want to say thank you.
Can you hear us now?
Yes.
All right, I'll start the clock again. Sorry for the internet issue.
Okay. First of all, I want to say thank you to Minneapolis DFL volunteers and team for really being there in this not normal year of caucusing. So we appreciate you. It's not really easy to be a city council at this time of what's happening in Minneapolis. We need a leadership that is really on the ground with the people, with the residents that are aware of what's happening, that has experience of listening to the people. I strongly believe people who have issues like, all kind of issues we have in Ward 6, the same people have the answers. All they need is to have a platform and a voice at city council, not vice versa. I strongly believe that we have a great opportunity to shine, to solve together our problems by listening to the residents, to the organizations, neighbor organizations. And I also want to say that is a very important thing. And you have to have the skills and the experience of working with people in every direction. I am saying at the final that to have a leadership that just shows up at the end or at the election time is something that the ward and the residents are tired of. We need to bring people together, and especially when you have a city council for the ward that is really using words that really create division among our communities. In these times, we need to come together and work together to solve and find ideas to solve our public safety, number one, our housing crisis, our healthcare, and above all, the racial inequality that makes many people of color and indigenous people to suffer and never find the opportunities that everyone else is finding. I think we have a great opportunity to really make Minneapolis a better city, a united city that also becomes a role model for the rest of the country, for the rest of the state and the country and the world. We have an opportunity, and I believe if we have the opportunity to work together to bring our people of different faiths, different ethnicities, all those neighbors, different colors, to bring them as Minneapolis one, and make sure that Minneapolis City Hall and Minneapolis city government reflects its own people. It has been a hollow statement. We want to make sure that this happens with the help and the ideas of the residents of Ward 6. Thank you, and I appreciate it.
Thank you. And thank you to both candidates for joining us today. And thank you for seeking the DFL endorsement. To the DFL ward delegates who are watching today or on replay, remember to vote by Tuesday, June 8th, just next week, Tuesday, June 8th by midnight. You can vote as many times as you want, and the most recent vote will count. Remember, for Ward 6 in particular, that the final round has 2 candidates plus no endorsement. So your first choice will be the one that counts. And there won't really be a ranking that way because there's only 3 options and there's 2 candidates plus no endorsement. So remember that, and there's 60% to earn an endorsement, and I think that's the notes there. And so thank you to both of you for joining us today. And once you leave the Zoom room, then I will bring in the people from the waiting room who are running for park board. And so if you just would like to say, thank you, goodbye, and things like that.
Thank you, goodbye.
Thank you. Thank you for your work. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen.
Hello, can Jono and Becky hear and see us?
Yes, I can hear you and see you.
Hey, Becky. So I see Jono still has the camera off. So how about we'll start with you? I know that you had other business this afternoon, so you can take as much time as you want because you're the only candidate here right now, and for District 3. So I know you said 2 minutes, but you're not on the clock right now.
Perfect. Perfect. Well, thank you so much for the opportunity to speak at this ward convention today. As Conrad mentioned, I'm Becky Alper, and I'm running for Minneapolis Park Board District 3. I'm a Seward resident. I'm married to an immigrant and a working mom with 2 biracial kids. And I've worked for many years in sustainable transportation and urban planning, and I'm passionate about making parks work for all people, from my 4-year-old daughter to my 84-year-old father. Parks were so important to us this past year, from a source of mental and physical health to a community gathering space. And for me personally, I want to share just one memory. My best memory of last summer was on a car-free parkway, watching my 6-year-old learn to ride her bicycle without training wheels for the first time. And it really holds a special place in my heart. I joined this race because I believe that District 3 residents deserve leadership on the park board. There are serious issues affecting our park system, from aging infrastructure to wetter climates to increasing wealth disparities across our city. You deserve a commissioner who is going to be there for you, who will listen, who will make educated decisions based on the best available information, who will be at every meeting and read every page of background material. And I pledge to be that person. We need to make sure our park facilities and programming are the best they can be for all Minneapolis residents. We have an opportunity to improve access to parks by making our parks more accessible for people walking and biking and taking transit. And we have an obligation to prepare our parks for the effects of climate change and to leave them better off for our youngest residents. So with that, thank you so much for the opportunity to speak today. And I hope that you'll vote to endorse me, Becky Alper, for Parks District 3. And thank you so much.
Thank you so much for joining us today. And thank you. And reminder that the city convention, voting for the city convention in District 3 starts this next Wednesday, June 9th. And delegates will get their ballots by email and also by text message if they had a mobile phone number in their registration. And then voting for endorsement for the city convention concludes on Tuesday, June 15th, I think it is. And then at midnight, of course. So you have all day and into the night to make up your mind. And thank you. Thank you for joining us, Becky. All right, next, Jono, thank you for joining us. And how about just to start with kind of an introduction to yourself and, to introduce yourself to the delegates and everybody else watching.
Thank you, Conrad, and thanks to all the folks out there today, all the Ward 6 delegates to spend time with us on this hot day. I will be brief. I'm just going to give a few comments because I am representing District 4 on the park board, and that includes a bit of Ward 6. So if you live in Elliott Park or you live in Stevens Square, I am your representative. I'm also your neighbor. I live over here on Clinton Avenue and 17th in Stevens Square, and I love this community and this park, our Stevens Square Park right here. I have been the board president the last 2 years and served on the board since 2018, and I'm running to represent you all again on the park board. I think there's a lot more that we need to do to make the park system more accessible and usable for everybody, especially our most vulnerable community members. In Ward 6, I'm very excited about some of the strides that we've made, but there's a lot more to do. Some of the new investments we've made at Phelps, some of the new investments we made at Brian Coyle Community Center, with some a new community center and a variety of improvements being unveiled this summer. We also were really invested in making changes at Franklin Steel Park, where we were able to work with residents that live right next to Franklin Steel Park to put up a fence to ensure that folks weren't going into their driveway and into their residence, and working to activate that space so it's safe for kids to play. Also very excited about the new skate park at Elliott Park, and all the investment that's happening at Elliott Park to make sure that everybody can use that space, that the soccer field is used and accessible for everybody, and that we have really great top-notch equipment for our community there. I'm excited to push us forward more by investing in youth programs. It's critical that we expand our investment in the programs that make our youth thrive and feel safe in our parks. And I will work very hard over the next term to work with my colleagues on the park board, but also at the city and at the county and state levels to make those investments equitably, and with an eye towards ensuring that everybody, especially our most vulnerable, especially our historically underrepresented communities, get the infrastructure and the investments and the jobs and opportunities that they need to thrive in our communities. So with that, I'll turn it back over to you, Conrad, but I appreciate the opportunity. And again, John O'Cogill is my name, and I'm running to represent you on the District 4 seat on the park board, which includes Stevens Square and Elliott Park.
Yes, and as I said with Becky, city convention endorsement voting starts on Wednesday, June 9th, and delegates will get ballots by email and text message. And then there also is a city convention live event just like this one, and I think that is on Saturday of the weekend there. And then we have the conclusion of voting on Tuesday, June 15th at midnight. So thank you to both of the park board candidates for District 4 and District 3 joining us today. And thank you to everyone watching live on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. And you will be able to watch this entire event on replay immediately after we close the meeting here. And that's that. So thank you for everyone who joined us today. And stay cool, drink plenty of water, and thank you for joining us. Bye-bye.